Hey, Aurin. My name is Amaya Desire. I'm from Big O Belt Media. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm taking my time. Something going around in the air, but I'm gonna stay strong. So my first question for you is going to be, when you first created The Good Fight, what is it that you wanted the goal? What was the goal for the show, and what did you want the audience to gain?
Well, I didn't create The Good Fight. I was hired by the showrunners, Robert and Michelle King. I was
Right.
working on one of their shows called Brain Dead, 2015 to 2016. After Brain Dead ended, they asked me if I would be interested in potentially working on a spinoff of The Good Wife, which was just ending, called The Good Fight. I
Right.
said, absolutely, The Good Wife. I've heard so much about it, but I actually didn't watch it. So I binge watched The Good Wife. And then there was a delay in the production of The Good Fight. That
Mhm.
pause meant I took another job with This Is Us for the first season while The
Okay.
Good Fight was running. At the end of This Is Us, I was working out in a gym, and Niambi comes in, and he's wearing a sweatshirt that says The Good Fight on it. And I go up to Niambi and say, I was supposed to work on the first season of that show. I was hoping to stay in New York, but it didn't matter because both This Is Us, as well as the first scene of The Good Fight, moved out to LA. And
Mhm.
Niambi said, email them right now. The show's moving back to New York for season 2.
Oh,
So I
wow.
emailed them, like, what you talk about, like the coincidences, like literally meeting someone in the gym that's a Good Fight shirt and being like, hey, like, so I emailed them and they said, yes, we're moving back to New York season 2. And the goal season 2, I can't speak about season 1, but the goal season 2 going forward was like, how can we make this show more and more weird and different, so that it complements and it flows out of The Good Wife, but is more jagged, more punk, more different, and more in honor of the city and of the politics of the city, which is Chicago, which is more Black, more diverse, more women, and all these other elements that could be added to the show that reflect the times in the Trump era. And so that was the goal, is like, how can we push things not only in messages and themes that make us uncomfortable, but also like the aesthetics, the blending of the the Soul Train commercial for Afro Sheen, where I was
Mm.
like, that just popped in my head, and I was like, what if you think you're dying, and all of a sudden you're delusion, you're in a commercial that's like for Afro Sheen, and you're like, why is this my dying? Why am I having this thing?
Right.
And having two amazing showrunners and Robert and Michelle King who are game for that. Like, yeah, let's
Mhm.
do it. Let's push the envelope aesthetically in humor, as well as, with the themes we're presenting.
Right. So the show is heavily, political. Obviously, it deals with a lot of issues of today, things that we're going through. How do you think the way that you all are able to capture those moments and things of that nature? How do you think the audience relates to those? Do you think there's anything in particular that stands out to them that's not of what we're currently dealing with, so to speak?
No, I think that the thing about the show is, let's be honest, it's a room of people who are mostly moderate to liberal.
Hmm.
And so if it's something we all agree with, it's not a subject worth writing about. If
Right.
it's something where we're all like, yes, blah, 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 it has to be something that makes us uncomfortable, that is a gray area, that makes us laugh because of the absurdity of the joke, or that makes us debate and argue. And then how do you take that and take that complexity, and then rather than giving it to a guest actor who appears for one episode and making them the antagonist that you root against, like in a
Hmm.
lot of shows, how do you take that complexity and gray area and then smear it on your main characters so that there's mud on them too? So that
Right.
they have a little bit of grace, a little bit of sin, a little bit of mud, and in between. And you see imperfect people struggling in a world that requires lawyers to do some pretty questionable things
Shady
at
things.
times for wealthy clients or for just to win a case. And so it's always about, what is the gray area? What is the complexity? And how do we make this complicated for our main characters who represent and stand in for us as the audience? That
Right.
we're rooting for them, and then we see them do something, we're like, oh, that was not I. But then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I understand why you had to do that, but like, oh, that was uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
that you just said that. And so that's always a driving impulse. And so if you pitch something, it could be a great idea, but if you pitch it and there's people just nod and there's no active debate, then
Right.
odds are it's not a good story.
Right. Agreed. Well, we see on this season that there's a little bit more of a nurturing side to Liz. Was there any particular reason that you wanted to show this side of her?
Because Liz is so strong, we didn't want to turn her into a strong Black woman archetype or, that whole thing. And Audrey McDonald didn't want that. She wants to be strong, but at the same time have complexities in the show. And so that was what we were working through. And I think in the middle of the season, that added some funny light moments that Liz got, because it's like, all right, I was strong in that episode. I can't just be yelling for like two or three episodes in a row. Let's and I'm like, okay, well, how about this? That shows strength, but in a different way, that's humorous or that's subversive and punk. So that was a joy to battle the thing that is in a lot of media, which is we're seeing the next generation of TV take up, like, okay, we all know the strong Black woman thing, but like, what else is there underneath that? That's more interesting.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that that's something that is going to be very interesting to watch, and to see how people react to it. But like you said, we've had so much of that over the years that I think it is something different to go into the more nurturing and sensual side of a Black woman.
Yeah. And that is such a huge thing. The sensuality and sexuality of, most of our main cast is middle-aged to above. And POC and women. Can they have sensuality? Can they have sexuality?
Right.
They don't have to be castrated or stripped of their fullness, so that you can show all those layers.
Absolutely. I agree. So what gave you the idea of adding Richard, this type of opponent for Liz? Was there any theory behind creating a character such as him?
We were joking one day, this is in the first week or two of The Room, about what we saw. And I started saying, I saw a Tyler Perry thing this weekend. And like a lot of my friends, we watched Tyler Perry with a complex view. And he's someone who I perceive as having a significant appetite, but then as like devoutly Christian and also devoutly capitalist. And those things don't seem to contradict. And that we had a very great discussion. Everyone was talking about it. And then we also brought up an obsession that we were having in the room, which is Little Richard, who is someone who was a ordained minister, went to school for theology, and also helped create rock and roll. So someone who has this enormous appetite for sex, drugs, music, frivolity, and does not see any contradiction with Christianity or with being a capitalist. And so in a traditional show, it would be like someone who's ashamed or has this secret off to the side. But what do you do when this person sees no difference, meshes the lust with the praised, with the capitalist all together, and proudly stands there being like, join hands in prayer. Let's go kick ass and earn some money, and has that view of the world, was really thanks to people like Tyler Perry and Little Richard and those larger than life archetypes, Ma Rainey, those larger than life archetypes in Black culture and in American culture that are like, they redefine the morals we think we're supposed to have. And you go, oh, you could be lustful and sexy and Christian and and an uber capitalist trying to screw up the competition. And you could debate whether it's right or wrong, but these are people who have they're like, yeah, I'm all of these things. I stand confidently without hiding anything about this is what I'm about. And I've met occasionally people like that who are like, join hands in prayer. And you're like, all right, this is all right. And you see what they're doing later on and you're like, what? And so oh, they're a hypocrite. And then you talk like, no, I screwed that person over and I join hands in prayer. And I'm trying to earn as much money as possible.
Right, somebody who owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Do you have a favorite episode or moment of the series?
I think, there were so many great moments. Uh, I don't know how much I can spoil, but at the end, there's another joke about who's going to run for president on the Democratic side.
Hmm.
Was a running gag that builds over the course of an episode and just some surprising twists and turns,
Okay.
uh, as well as the debating of who is going to fund the Democrats in this era. Like, and so that was, I thought that was a very funny episode and very weird. I don't think it's aired yet.
Mhm.
But if you see it, you'll understand what the argument is about and how it is weird and different and in the gray area. And it seems like a joke at first, but the good thing about the good fight is stuff starts off as a joke, but it's always, every good joke is supported by actual facts or truth.
Mhm.
And so it
Yeah,
starts off as a joke and people are like, but no, really, what if this actually happened? And
right.
then people, because they're lawyers, negotiate and take that absurdity and make it concrete and real.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, we've just created something that is completely absurd, but now can actually function because we created the contract and the rules for how this can operate. So I thought that was one of the many high points. And in the middle of the season, with Eli Gold, and that the twist that happened was something that I enjoyed particularly.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Do you have a, of course, over the past 6 seasons, you've had Liz grow as a character. Do you think there was anything in particular that stood out to you though, as her character? Like anything that she grew in tremendously enough to make you say like, this character has really developed?
I think in season 2, because she was new into the firm, you have to create some opposition, but we
Mhm.
didn't want to turn it into two powerful women who hate each other.
Right.
And with Diane and with Christine Baranski and Audrey McDonald, because we've seen that before,
Right.
and we
Mhm.
wanted to know, like, no, people can coexist, be friends, but at the same time challenge and make each other uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And seeing that growth, because there was a certain point when it could have gone the other way and
Right.
been like a soap opera or Dynasty, like people throwing glass dishes at each other and cursing each other out across a boardroom table. But it's like, how can we actually make this more complex and interesting so that there's more road for story rather than, oh yeah, Liz and Diane hate each other, end of discussion. That's the way it is, black and white.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So one last question, funny question. Of course, we all know that final seasons and final episodes can be really hard. A lot of people were very harsh on Game of Thrones, but do you think that the audience will be thrilled and happy with what you all have done for the final season?
Yes, because this final season is sort of predicting the future of America. Uh,
Mhm.
and as it's rolling out, that's sort of our predictions made earlier this year are sort of happening. And
Mm.
so as it's symbolic, thematically, things are happening that link up with, my episode about CTE and NFL. We started breaking that in January and February.
Okay.
And the week it aired was the week where Miami Dolphins quarterback got a concussion, CTE potential. Miami Dolphins still under scandal for their black coach who was fired. All the things popped up that week the episode aired. And as well as the Phoenix Suns owner having to sell his team for racist stuff, which is also another subplot within the episode. And so we appear to have a pretty active hive mind and like reaching our tentacles out together and trying to see where the country and where society is heading. And I would hope that it is active and accurate, but at the same time, timeless and something that you can enjoy years later. So that's what I want.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I love the series and I'm waiting and excited to see this final series, the final season. So thanks so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.